show started yet?
Say again, Arwin?
It started yet? No.
Starting in 2 minutes. Anthony said hello yet?
No, but I am here.
Hello.
Hola. There's been a
Hola.
death.
Did you see I republished the bottom-up obstruction video from yesterday?
No, not really, no.
Published 20-minute odd bit of the debate with Rumpus, where we're talking about why things disappear from bottom up.
All right.
Cut it out and republished it under the title. Why
They'll
things-
just ignore it and dismiss it. Listen, there's been a death. Should I tell you about it now, or should I tell you about it when we're on air?
A death?
Yeah. You know, Chocolate saying
Yeah.
What?
he can't come back online anymore. He's got a job.
Oh.
Oh, a death as in somebody's not able to join the debate.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
can't join anymore. He's moved from somewhere in America, like thousands of miles, to somewhere else. I think he was in New York City, and he's moved somewhere rural, and he's ended up dropping on and getting a job straight away. And I'm like, so you've dumped us for a job? And he's like, yeah, man. He said, I'm missing you guys already. He says, but I can't get on. I'm like, oh,
That's fair enough. I'm sure we'll see him again.
I know, but I'm going to claim it a death.
Because he won't have been. No, you have to wait. Maybe don't mention it for a couple of weeks. Although this will go on the backup channel now because I started recording about 60 seconds ago.
No, I've told him that I'm going to read an obituary for him today.
Oh, okay. Right, 60 seconds and we're starting. I'm just going to pop you guys on mute.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yo.
Good afternoon.
What's up?
Welcome. So before the
The
show
answer's
started, we had some tragic news, which definitely comes ahead of housekeeping. So Anthony, maybe you can fill the audience in.
There's been a death. Our beloved friend Chocolate Sane will no longer be with us on the panel. Our friend Chocolate Sane has recently moved from, I believe it was New York City, to somewhere more rural. I don't know where. But unfortunately for us, he's dropped on and found a job straight away, and it clashes with the show. So we won't be able to join anymore. So I'd like to just take a moment and share our loss with everybody for Chocolate Sane.
Well, I think it's only fair that we say a blessing, just in case he falls to the dark side during his job. Radius Dominus, Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. Go in peace, my brother. In R we trust.
So shout out to Chocolate Sane. Well done for getting a new job. And hopefully you'll get sacked and you'll come back and join us.
No, hopefully not. Hopefully he's extremely successful in every endeavour.
Anyway, housekeeping.
Any signs of curvature?
No.
Nope.
Not
Any
of the Earth.
signs of axial rotation?
No.
Of the ether-based variety?
There's no axial base rotation of anything as far as I'm concerned when it relates to Earth or the stars, Owen.
I'm talking about the ether.
Who cares? The answer's still no.
There's no axial rotation.
It's the axial bit. Rotation, yes. Axial rotation would indicate that one is under the other, Arwen.
Doesn't it? Doesn't the ether rotate?
What, under my ass? No.
Well, not physically, but
But
it
what?
can still be proven to be there, right?
Well, you know, if I've got an axe... God, I don't know why I'm doing this.
He can't even say it.
I give up. If I've got an axis, Arwen, then one is antipode to the other.
Depends on what the axis is about.
No, it doesn't. There's no
Only if it is
rotation.
an object, if it has three dimensions.
There is no axial rotation, Nathan. If there was axial rotation, I'd be on their side. However, nobody can prove that the point on the southern rotation that does seem to rotate around a axis is actually directly south of the one that we see in the north. Because you can't have a reference north when you're in the south because you can't see it. It's over the horizon. So how do you know that it's antipode? It has to be opposite. And it has to be opposite for two observers, one being in Australia and one being in South America. That can't possibly happen because we have something called declination. And whether you subscribe to it or you ignore it, either way, it basically corrects for what I would argue would be a flat map. So no, the answer is just rotation points in the sky don't prove that we're on a ball. If you think it does, then you haven't thought about it hard enough. So the answer is no.
Am I okay to move on, Arwen?
Yeah.
Moving on. So, any signs of a gas pressure without a container?
Don't be ridiculous.
No. I had a good discussion about this with somebody on Skype just before the show. And he basically forced me to outline everything and basically explain to him how we were talking about super high possibilities for super high up atmosphere, which would be potentially at the edge of a container, and how you could deduce that even not by going there based on entropy and everything. And he really had trouble just getting his or her head around that hydrogen, which is probably the lightest form or the type of matter with the least volumic mass that we know, how it would never be next to a void, never next to a vacuum, how no matter what kind of forces like gravity push it or pull it, entropy is always going to be stronger. It will always enforce it to stick to whatever the container edge or surface is like, if there is, or loop, who knows, but anything that it's just gonna stick next to it. Sorry, I'm just not coming out of my words, and it's not gonna drop from it because it's like stuck to there like elastic, and one particle might displace from the edge only if it can be replaced by another particle. So entropy is going to make sure that a vacuum will never form. And even if you, for example, put matter in a super extreme centrifuge that spins several millions of rotations a second, then yeah, the center part is probably going to get filled by hydrogen, but there's never going to be a vacuum there because entropy prevents that from happening. And yeah, so I went through all of it, and yeah, it really is not possible. It's really not possible.
Yep, entropy.
No matter what the setup is, even if there is a huge room up there, it's gonna be filled. It's gonna be filled with hydrogen. It's another matter at how that came there. Either it was all extracted from the Earth during the creation phase when entropy set in, or it was always there to fill up this giant room up there. But it's not going to be a vacuum. because entropy just prevents that from happening.
Right on. Well, in the words of Alex Quant in the chat, I'll take that as a no then.
Indeed.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Lots of deductions. Laws of energy conservation, laws of motion, all point at a whole that cannot be scientifically proven, but something must be there or everything could not work.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to question that, Nath. Should we wait till after housekeeping, or should we do it now?
Do it now.
Do you want to share my screen?
Sure.
I realised how I can deal with this because I wanted Rumpus yesterday, the other day, and I couldn't get him because he got kicked before I could get to him. And I wanted him to state his position with regards to the following scenario. And in Rumpus's absence, I want Arwin to talk me through this. Rumpus had his little ball. You see my screen, Arwin, yeah? Rumpus had his little ball, and he said that there was an equal and opposite force that was... Imagine that the ball's touching the floor. I know it's not, but imagine that the ball's touching the floor, and he said that there was an equal and opposite force that was pushing it back up, and you agree with that, right?
According to the super basic theoretical principles, yes.
Okay.
But it's an oversimplification.
So I'm going to argue that there's no force that's pushing it back up. I'm going to argue that it's the floor that's stopping it from falling any further, but there's no equal and opposite
according
force.
to that system, the medium by which you're going to explain it is you're immediately going to be wrong. It's very simple.
Well, that's not my point.
There has to be. No, but that's the foundation of that entire concept of forces.
All right, but it's still not my point. So I'm moving forward anyway.
Right.
This is a ping pong ball, okay? When I was younger and when I was a kid, I used to play with a ping pong ball for hours because I was able to do something with ping pong balls that were excellent. I know it's not what you're thinking. You can get a ping pong ball and you can blow from your mouth a thin column of air, and you can suspend the ping pong ball just like the egg in water, but without it being in water. You can do it above your head. Have you ever played with a ping pong ball in this way?
Yep.
I have.
Yeah, we've all done it, and you can move. You can hold it in. You can move it up and down, or you can hold it in a state. But I'm providing.
Just do it in a tube. It's very above a tube. It's very easy.
Yeah, you can do it above a tube. I'm going to get all of the bits and pieces because I want
first
to
vacuum cleaner. Very easy.
So I want to do this live, and I want to demonstrate it because I want to know before I do it. I want to know what Rumpus's position is, and while he's not here, I want to know what yours is.
Sure. No problem.
Talk to me with regards to the ping pong ball. Talk to me with how does this work with gravity? Because I know that I'm providing a force because I'm interacting with it by blowing. Yeah. So that does satisfy the definition of force.
I know.
But there's got to be the density of the weight of the, because Rumpus would say that there's a weight involved. And if there's a weight involved, there's going to be a weight pushing down on it, a small weight pushing down because it's only a thing, a little thing. But there'll be a bigger one pushing up, which is me blowing it, which will keep it up suspended into the air. And you could vary the height of it by putting a little bit more pressure on it and stuff, right? But what happens, what's your position if, instead of it being like that, if we have the ball like that, and if we do it on an angle, what's your position? What are the forces that are involved? And what would happen to the ball if I blew it on an angle?
Well, it all depends on if you find this special point, which is a funny trick that has to do with aerodynamics and pressure systems. Because if you put the ping pong ball at the right place, then it will get into like this, how do you say, this lower pressure thing because of the motion turbulence, where it will keep stuck in place, basically. And I think that even works if you turn the angle. I've done that. But that has to do with the pressure, basically keeping it in place, the direct pressure.
So
not just pressure one way.
Are you saying that this can be done?
I'm not sure, but I think it can. I think I did that.
It can be done. You can move it off the vertical.
So.
But I don't think that you can argue this with gravity at all if gravity is what you say it is.
Of course you
because
can.
I've got now an angular force applied, which would be my breath going, but the gravity's pulling it down.
Yeah.
So what should happen in theory is
but
this
there's turbulence happening. There's not just one force is causing a displacement, and a displacement is causing interactions, causing turbulence and pressure differentials in specific locations right there. And all these pressure differentials is what is keeping the ball in its place from multiple directions.
But how does that work though? Because if gravity's pulling the balloon down,
that's turbulence.
So you're
aerodynamics. That's how planes stay stable and all that. It's the same.
Forget about turbulence and all that. I want you to talk to me with regards.
Forget about it. That's what that is.
Yeah, but gravity is affecting this, though, is it not?
Yeah.
So if I push the block, if I provide the angular airstream to it, and gravity's still pulling it down, shouldn't it literally like projectile off it at an angle? Where does gravity fit into it?
Well, it is still exerting its force, but the pressures from the turbulence field is stronger than that. It's just keeping it into place. As soon as it stops, it's going to fall off.
Yeah, I've seen this demonstrated with a beach ball and a vacuum cleaner. They did it at an angle, and they kept it stationary, and the ball was just rotating above the airstream.
That's turbulence effect. It's just how that works.
So where's the gravity in it, though? Because what you're saying there is what I would argue against gravity. I just told you.
It's still there, but the turbulence, the pressures from the turbulence is stronger. So the gravity is not enough to displace it in that scenario.
But it's not perpendicular to the force. That would only work if the gravity is going opposing the angle that we're at.
Yeah, but the force in the tube may come from one direction, but the forces actually surrounding that ball are not coming from one direction. That's the whole point, because of the turbulence.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up.
So it's also going to come from the side. So when you turn it, it's going to basically come from beneath it and above it. And both are going to be strong enough to keep that into place, I think.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up John Watson's, one of John Watson's most recent videos, if I can find this thing. Hang on, let me do it here. Too much. Here we go. Now, I'd forgotten about this guy. I saw this guy when I was first into Flat Earth, and I'd totally forgotten about him until very recently when I saw this. And what this guy does is he gets the balloon that we're talking about. Let me find it. And it's a shame because Nathan I need really sound, because he says that you can't argue that gravity is affecting this at all, because if it was, when it's on the angle, the gravitational pull should pull the balloon down, and it should never be able to be on an angle. And he actually expressly states that you can't argue that gravity's in this if this is able to happen, and then he demonstrates it. So then he gets his balloon, he gets his what you call it, air supply. Let's see if we can find the bit. He does it with a golf ball. Oh, here we go. Here's one of them. So he gets like a styrene ball, and he's able to get it to sit above the airstream.
Yes.
Yeah, now look
how it wobbles up and forth.
Now he's got it on an angle.
Pressure zones are surrounding it.
Right, pressure zones. But where's the gravity though?
It's still there, but the pressure zones are stronger. They counteract it.
This guy
keeping it in place, as if holding with your hand.
This guy expressly states that you can't argue that, and I want to know why you can't.
Oh, he's a moron.
He's a moron?
Yeah.
He's a doctor.
Oh, I don't care. He's a moron. He got it wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Nathan, would you...
There's nothing... I explained it specifically, and he's not even mentioning it. Anything about pressure or turbulence.
Oh, he is. He does. It's called the Bernoulli effect. He mentions it completely.
All right.
But what he says is that you cannot argue that gravity is in this at all if this is not perpendicular. When it's on the angle, you can't argue that gravity is in it.
There's no connection there.
Listen, he says when it's on the angle, you cannot argue that gravity's in it. And you say he's a moron. And I say he knows a lot more than...
I just did.
Owen, listen. You say he's a moron. I say he knows a lot more about it than what you do.
Oh, well, that's good for you. Because, yeah, you would typically say that because you're a moron.
Yeah, I'm going to call you the moron then, because if you think this guy's got the explanation wrong, then it's up to you to explain how and show how he's got it wrong. Because he says that you can't do it. He says that
I
once
just explained it to you.
gravity's not
I
in it.
explained to you exactly how that would work.
Yeah, I'm not interested
Because of
about the pressure.
The Brunei effect, apparently it's called. There's
not
pressures
interested
from all
in the
sides
pressure.
keeping it into place.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the pressure. I'm not interested in
Yeah,
the,
but
in the
that pressure
fluctuation.
is what is counteracting the freaking gravity. That's the whole point.
This guy says that's not true.
Yeah, well, he's wrong.
Right, but you say he's wrong. I say he knows more about it than what you do.
Good for you that you have another authority figure that just happened to agree with your religious stance.
Oh, right. Have you got anyone that agrees with your religious stance about something you can't prove?
Guy I talked to over Skype, for one. There's another one. And I got several that agree with me. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't prove it, though, right? Has anybody ever?
I can't prove it.
Has anybody ever?
Anything?
Has anybody
Do they
ever
need to make a video supporting me? Is that what you need?
No, has anybody ever produced no evidence to win a point?
I just did.
Well, look at this guy. This guy expressly
and he's
states that you
he's
can't do
saying,
it.
"Oh, it's not true." Well, I make a point and describe exactly how it is true. And just because you don't believe me, because you can't listen to me, because I propose gravity, that's your cognitive dissonance problem. I disagree with him, and I described exactly how. If you're not going to listen to that, that's your problem, not mine.
You haven't got any evidence for your point, and this guy expressly states that you can't argue it.
Oh, he's wrong. Very simple.
Well, then we have to decide.
Morning, guys.
Trust Darwin,
How you
or
doing?
we trust this guy who's demonstrating it, and he literally says you can't argue gravity, right?
Hi, Jose. How are
That's
you?
good for you.
Excellent. Can I get a word in really quick? I've been listening just for a few minutes till I join. My take on this is, Arwin, you have an explanation, so you can interpret this video that Riley is presenting. You got an interpretation for it, but do you think you can present something that you have made, some kind of a little control test that you can do, and you say, you know what, this is how it works, some kind of a ball, some kind of a little airstream, something like this?
Why would
Can
I
you
do
present?
that?
Can you do something?
Do you want me to
present
take
something?
this video, erase his speech, and then speak over it and explain it
No,
my way?
you know
Because
what?
that would be exactly the same. I just
Yeah.
described exactly what is happening with what he's doing, and he says, no, it's not there. Well, that's his problem. I say
That would
it
be
is there,
excellent. That
and
would
I
be-
explain exactly how.
Can I get to my point here? That would be a good first step if you want to take the audio out and put your interpretation of the video. Beautiful. Can you do your own? Can you recreate something like this and then explain it with you making it and you explaining it, and that way it will be more understanding.
what we can do in the
Sorry,
short
but
term.
I'm not your producer, but I'm
You
not here
would
to
say if the
produce.
ball
No, you don't have to.
for you.
It's because the air pushes up and the ball pushes down, and when they are equal, the ball stays there. And that would be correct. But now supposing I turn the tube off the vertical, and the ball still stayed there. Well, you can't say that anymore, because when the ball receives the air that way, there is a component that way and a component that way. That one may hold up, the ball pushes down, and when they are equal, the ball stays there. And that would be correct. But now supposing I turn the tube off the vertical, and the ball still stayed there. Well, you can't say that anymore, because when the ball receives the air that way, there is a component that way and a component that way. That one may hold up the ball, but this one should drive it away.
So that guy's saying that you can't say that there's a downward force when, if there was a downward force, it should be pulling it off.
Well, I'm just going to react and say that I disagree. I don't agree that there's an aspect
That
of
guy
gravity there.
is an actor.
Yeah, first of all, his hair makes him look like a mad scientist. Second of all, now that I've heard him, he definitely is a mad scientist. But just simply.
Yeah, but that's you're attacking the character there. You're not attacking the argument.
Listen. Presentation is part of the interpretation as well. Okay, but
no, that's attacking. That's attacking the person, not the argument.
All right. Well, then call me.
Let's see where the point is going.
Call me fallacious. Let's change the medium to a stream of water. Okay, so then we use a stream of water that has enough pressure to hold that ball up. Do the same thing where you put it at a 45-degree angle or whatever. That stream of water is now a surface tension that will still maintain the same position. I disagree with what I just heard him explain. I do not think that if you change the angle of the airstream,
I'll draw it.
That you don't need to draw
the
it.
pressure zones. I'll show it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what Arwen is saying, although I'm not going to attribute it to gravity. I think that what we're seeing is perfectly explainable.
It is explained in the video. He explains it clearly. It's to do with turbulent and buoyant air, and it's called the Bernoulli effect.
Yeah.
But what it's not to do with, it's not to do with gravity. And what he's saying is that if there is a downward force to do with gravity, then it must be pulling down whilst it's on the angle, right? It would only work perpendicular.
It is, and I'll show you exactly how.
Hold on. Right. But for me, Anthony, I would need him to demonstrate rather than just say it can't happen.
Well, he does demonstrate it. I mean, if you went back an extra 20 seconds in the clip, you'll see that he actually he explains it, demonstrates it, and shows that if there was something down, that he does it all through the whole video, actually. He talks
You're wrong, Anthony, as usual.
He talks about, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
I know absolutely what I'm talking about.
You're not educated high enough either.
I don't know about the gravity effect, so I can draw the force diagram for you if you like and explain it.
I'll do it, Rumpus.
No, let's Rumpus do it, because I was hoping to catch Rumpus the other day and he got kicked before I got to him.
Okay, well,
before you start, Rumpus, really quick. Do you notice the pattern that everybody's been speaking for 1 and 2 minutes? Nobody's making a 10-minute presentation. Just putting this out there.
I don't know what your point is. So
he's just saying that you're not exactly concise.
I'm very concise. The trouble is sometimes there's some ideas that need transmitting that take more than just a couple of simple sentences, and you need a diagram. Particularly when I'm dealing with stupid people who don't know any physics.
There's no stupid people on the panel, Rumpus. We're all clever.
No, you're not. You're all very stupid. I don't think there's anybody here I'd regard as over average IQ.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah. I'm afraid it's pretty sad. Anyway, I can draw you a diagram if you like.
Right, just to respond that, just to keep the balance even, I think Rumpus is a complete moron because he has a religious belief in an R value and applies it regardless. He ignores perspective, making him a moron. Very stupid man. Just to keep balance.
Makes claims he can't prove as well.
Based on knowledge.
Based on an assumption. I'll dig out the video and we'll play it at nausea. You saying you must presume you're on a sphere. You're a moron who presumes you're on a sphere. Just to keep balance.
No, I don't presume. Moron. It's been calculated, Nathan.
Don't come on and ad hom the panel, or I'll just ad hom you moron.
Yeah. You're the moron here.
Yeah, you're a moron.
You're an utter moron.
Yeah, right. If that's where we're going to go, I'll just kick you out, Rumpus. So don't ad hom the panel, or I'll ad hom you, then I'll kick you out. Don't Rumpus the panel.
He's trying to sabotage my explanation as usual, as is his want.
Just get on with it.
Okay, well, I'm just having to start up my drawing program. It takes a few seconds to get going. And I'll just screen grab it in a second. It just needs to boot up and go. It's nearly there. And then I can draw your diagram of where the forces are. Because remember, whenever you're doing these sorts of things, the things you need to worry about are forces. What are the forces that are involved? And if there's no movement of anything, there's no change in velocity, then you know that the net force on something is 0. That's how you know.
There wouldn't be a gravitational pull then, would there?
There is, and I'll explain to you.
Sorry. Just to get clarity, you said if they're equal, then there is no force acting on them. Well, then
no, I didn't say that. To the net force. Listen to what I'm saying, Nathan. Net force. Oh, you
get angry. Go on, get really angry while we point out that your disclaimer at the early part of this demonstration concedes our point that the net force when equilibrium is achieved is 0. No gravity.
You don't understand what net force is, do you? If you have
no, let's not dice up whether or not I understand what net force is. The net force is 0 when in equilibrium. There is no gravity. There's no force acting on it.
Moron. Unbelievable.
Oh, right, you're going to get kicked out.
Is, do you?
That's not a response. I'm confirming what you've just said. And that disclaimer...
I said that when the net force on something
why
is
0,
rumpusing me?
Why are you rumpusing me? Is it because you've just disclaimed our point?
The answer.
You think it's acceptable to just... I'll shut you up then. Rumpus is just, like he does often, he deals with the dirty business nice and early. That's what he's done, and he's basically conceded our point. There's no force when in equilibrium.
Net force, you
Yeah, you get really angry. Eat that microphone. Eat it.
Net
While I go, yeah, we agree, Rumpus.
You're damn
when the net force is 0, when in equilibrium, you can Rumpus this all you like. I'll shut you up again. When it's at 0, it's at 0. No force is acting on it. Gravity isn't needed. You throw it into the equation anyway, and then you Rumpus the hangout when we point out that your early concession agrees with our point.
Net force, okay, here we go. Here's an example of
Yeah, you're just going to ignore me. Right, you've not agreed. Your early concession is our point. You've just conceded it before you got into your little techno babble, which none of us are really that interested in, Rumpus. I'm interested in your concession that when in equilibrium, there is no gravity. There's no other force acting on it. There's no need for gravity when you reach equilibrium, which isn't achieved when you have a rock on a spring or on a surface. So you can try and rumpus the hell out of the hangout. If you continue to do it, I'm going to kick you out. You can't censor reality, Rumpus. You can't censor reality. You can't censor reality, Rumpus. You can't censor reality.
You won't let me speak.
You can't censor reality.
Let's hear him. Let's hear him.
Oh, God, amazing. Nathan, you need to understand...
You can't censor reality, Rumpus. You're not going to rumpus me. When I talk, I'll be heard. You can't talk over me. All you're doing is stopping the hangout hearing me. You can't censor reality, Rumpus. You cannot censor reality.
I cannot answer.
You can't censor reality.
Oh, see, there you go. He will always
You can't censor reality by talking while I'm talking. You're just stopping the hangout.
He will not let me answer.
Yeah,
right.
You can't censor reality. I was talking.
He will not let me answer. He won't.
Let's turn you right down.
He will not let me answer. It's amazing. Thinks he can get away. Thinks this works as a tactic. Right. So when you have two forces on something, and they're in opposite direction, then they cancel one another out. What have I been? All right. So
well, what happens if you haven't got the other force?
Right.
You've only got one.
So here we've got two forces. The net force, if they have the same magnitude, so if I have a plus force, we'll call plus going up, and I have another force, we have a minus force. I'll give that a proper letter actually. Let's give it a nice F. And we have a minus force down here. I'll make this a bit bigger. It's a bit small, isn't it? I make this minus F. Right, you should be able to see that despite and there's net force on this object here, net force is equal to 0 because the force pushing it up and the force pulling something down are equal. So then you know...
Sorry, hold on. Then there's no force. Sorry, that makes no sense because then there is no force by definition.
No, there is a force. There are two forces acting. Like, imagine there were two springs, two people pulling on a tug of war.
Tug of war.
There are two forces, but the movement of when they're equal...
There is no movement. Let's just give you the definition of force. Why is it that you're denying this? Force is not what you're describing. Force attributes a movement in a direction. If it's not moving, there is no force. That was your disclaimer early on that you tried to rumpus. So I don't get it. If you're saying the word force... then there is no force because there is no direction of travel. So what are you talking about?
Draw in the fan.
You can't censor reality. You're just talking non-stop while I talk.
Well, no, you overtalk me, and Nathan, as usual, you don't like my answers, so you interrupt me because you can't cope with the answers.
What is force? Let's clarify terms. What's force?
Right. Force is defined as the as the thing that will cause a mass to accelerate.
No, it's an interaction.
No, you're wrong. Forces cause things to accelerate.
It's an interaction, Rumpus.
No, you don't understand. It's a sort of... It's a special...
Let's just shut him up. Strength or energy...
Everything's an interaction, Anthony. That was a completely useless, ambiguous definition. Everything's an interaction. Then.
That's the definition of force.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
Bring it on screen right now.
I mean, this is something
you should know. Bring the definition of force on screen right now.
Okay. Right, I will go and do a screen grab on... I mean,
if you take issue with the first one, we'll take the best of 3 and see what they all say. And we all say interaction.
13, Anthony. Really?
Let's just the word force up, Rumpus.
Okay, let me do that. Oh, God. See, again, you don't want to hear next moment. Never mind, we'll do it.
Yeah, but you're misinterpreting the word.
No, you don't understand so much. You don't understand so much. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so let's bring up a thing and look up the definition of force.
Strength or energy is an attribute of a physical movement.
Yeah, just type in definition of force.
I have.
It's an interaction that'll change.
Yeah, these aren't scientific definitions. Let's go and...
Pick one.
Yeah, no, but these are all waffly lame.
The strength or energy as an attribute of a physical action or movement. If it's in equilibrium and is not moving, there is no force.
Right, here we go. Net force, Nathan, you're a stupid moron. Net...
why are you ad hominem me before giving out your description from Wikipedia? Right, is this the best you can do? Right, a Wikipedia example. Go and get the dictionary definition, not the Wikipedia definition, you pathetic moron.
No, because the Wikipedia...
What? Don't jabber. Get a dictionary definition, not Wikipedia.
Wikipedia gives you a much more scientific definition.
I'm all right with Wikipedia. It specifically says an interaction.
Right, so here you go. A force has both magnitude and direction, making it a vector quantity.
So if it's got no direction, it's got no force, you complete muppet.
What? I missed that.
Look at the first gibbering moron, or are you deaf? I'll say it again. If it doesn't have a direction of movement, it doesn't have a force, you moron.
What doesn't have a force?
Whatever you're looking at, you complete bonehead.
What are you... What, I'm looking at this Wikipedia
The thing
page,
in equilibrium, bonehead.
The net force is 0, you...
Yes, so there is no force. Net force 0, no force. Right, bonehead? Net force 0, therefore no force. So why are we talking about forces, you bonehead?
Because that's what's causing things to move like this ping
It's
pong
not
ball.
moving,
It's not
moron.
actually moving.
It's not
Yes,
moving.
that's because the net...
Hello?
That's
Are you
because the
dumb?
net
Are you
force
dumb? Do you not know
is
the difference
equal
between
to
moving and not
0.
moving? Hello,
And
are you
Nathan,
stupid?
Nathan, doesn't
Are
he
you
understand?
stupid? Do you not know the difference between something moving and something not moving, you complete retard? Don't you know the difference? Are you so stupid as to not realise that when something's not moving, it's not moving, and when something's moving, it is moving? How stupid are you?
Net force, a net
Rumpus,
force
listen.
is what's important.
Listen, Rumpus, listen. In the example where I'm blowing underneath it, we can all happily
Okay, well,
accept that there's a
let's go back
force,
to doing
right?
that.
I'm blowing underneath the ping pong ball.
Yeah, and I'm trying to draw that, Anthony, but you distracted me by looking... As it agrees with me completely, a force can cause an object with mass to change velocity. The first bit is just a sort of general linguistic introduction. It's not specific.
But it
Everything's
says
an
a
interaction.
force
That's
is an
not specific
interaction.
enough, Anthony. So you can't just go one round and say everything's an interaction.
Rumpus, listen.
Chemical
It says that
reactions are an interaction.
Rumpus, please, just listen. Don't interrupt. It says a force is an interaction that changes the motion of an object.
Correct. That's absolutely right. Yes.
So back in your diagram,
That's
you're
a
drawing
net
forces
force.
up and down.
Yeah, that's a net force, Anthony.
Right. Now, are you talking about the egg in the water, or are you talking about the ping pong ball that's being blown
I'm about
underneath?
to talk about the ping pong ball. Let me just read.
Right, the ping pong ball. Okay, so with the ping pong ball, we can all agree that there's a force there.
Yeah, let
but
me
with
go.
regards to the
Rumpus, you're talking non-stop.
Let me
Anthony's
share
now
it.
talking. Shut up.
Right. Here's the diagram.
No,
Now,
that
this
means
is the-
shut up. Anthony was responding to your non-stop jabber.
Yeah. So let me just finish, Rumpus, before you start talking. With regards to the ping pong ball that's getting an air from the underside, we can all agree that there's a force there, right?
Yes.
What about the egg that's neutrally buoyant in the water?
Right.
Where's the force?
Okay, you want to talk about something else now? Okay, I'll talk about
Well,
something
no, but
else.
you're using the word force, and I take
Yes.
issue with it because it doesn't. Although the force explains this one, whilst it's perpendicular, it doesn't explain the egg one.
Right, let me just...
So what I want you to do now that you're using the word force is explain where the force is with the egg in the water.
Okay, all right, so you don't want me to talk about the ping pong one. Okay, I'll accommodate
Well,
you.
you've used the word force.
Which is what all these things revolve around, force.
Right,
If
so
you've
in
not
that
drawn
case,
the
show
force
me the
diagram,
force
you don't
with the egg
understand
in the
what's going
water.
on. Right, so you want to know what about this egg? So here's an egg in the water. What do
Yeah.
you want to know?
I want to right. So with the egg in the water, if you're going to say that there's a net force that's 0, I want you to
In the case,
identify
only
the
in the case of
forces.
neutral buoyancy. The net force is only 0 in the case of neutral buoyancy. In the,
Oh, no,
all
but
the
you see,
cases
hang
where-
hang on. You seem to be misunderstanding. That's not what's happening in this.
Well, the net force on the egg is only 0 if the egg is neutrally buoyant. If you put in something of the same density, I can explain that in some detail here. But it's not.
You
but
begin to get a bit wishy-washy with your words.
Well, no, I'm not getting. I'm being very, very,
If
very,
the egg's in a
very
state of
specific.
neutral buoyancy, there are no forces by definition.
No, there are no net forces, Anthony. Net forces.
No.
There are two opposing forces.
No, that's not the definition for
That
neutral
is
buoyancy,
the
though.
definitions. The net force on an object causes it. So here,
So we've already established that a force involves something moving, and if it's not moving, there is no force. So you're just rumpusing and getting very angry and shouting into your mic again.
Anthony, do you see the egg here? It
Yes.
has a weight, and it has a weight which I'm calling the weight of the object, FO, and there's a buoyancy.
But hang on,
force.
wait. That word. Stop.
Yeah.
That word weight doesn't appear in the definition for neutral buoyancy.
It does, and I will show you how.
Can we have the definition of neutral buoyancy up, please?
Right, here we go. The net. I've got it here. The neutral buoyancy is when
That's
the
not.
net
That's not the
force-
definition.
The net
Sorry,
force.
that's your definition.
egg.
You've written that down, haven't you?
Hey, Lily, how many times are you going to interrupt the guy?
When the net force.
Because he's not telling the truth.
I am.
How many times are you going to interrupt the guy? Shut
That's
the fuck
not
up,
the
Lily.
definition for neutral
Who are
buoyancy.
you?
I am. Anthony, you won't
Get
let
the
me
hell out of my
make
hangout.
point,
Who
will
do you think you are?
I've
I
let you
run
make
this
your
show, you
point.
stupid idiot. Sod off.
I have let you make your point, and you haven't let me make mine.
Yeah, but you're using the word force with neutral buoyancy, and that's not
Yes,
the
and
definition.
do you understand a tug of war, Anthony? And a tug of war.
Yeah, I do, but that's
Great.
not what's happening with
So do
neutral
you
buoyant
understand
objects.
there are two? Right, hold on, Anthony.
Nathan, we need the definition
Anthony,
of neutral buoyancy up.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
perhaps a
Rumpus,
less
stop
tricky
talking a
situation.
second.
Anthony.
Stop talking.
Anthony.
Stop
Anthony,
talking.
what do you think
When we
happens
asked you
when
for a
something's
definition of
positively
force, you
buoyant?
went and got one. Now
In a
you're talking about
positively
neutral
buoyant
buoyancy
situation,
and
do you
telling
think
us
there's a
there's
force
forces,
acting on
and
the
you're
object?
rumpusing me. Do you want to get kicked out? It's clear that you're losing.
Well,
So
no,
are you
no,
going
you're
to
not
bring
letting
up
me explain anything.
Are you going to bring up a definition of neutral buoyancy or not?
I'll do it. I've got it
Okay.
on screen, Nath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just present
go
my
ahead.
screen, please, Nath.
Yeah, you're on.
Notice how I'm not interrupting you.
Shut up.
Now, Rumpus, notice how your definition of neutral buoyancy included the word force, but this one doesn't.
Yeah,
This
because
one
it's the
says
simplified
buoyancy, the
version for
condition
people
where
who don't
physical
understand what's
body's
going on.
average density.
Rumpus, you're rumpusing
Yeah.
again. Is it
Shut
because
up.
you're losing?
Rumpus, why are you talking
Can't censor
right now?
reality, Rumpus. You can't censor reality. Just because
I
he's
can't-
talking
no, I
doesn't
can't
mean
indeed,
you
you're
get
absolutely
to.
right.
I'm going
Rumpus,
to
just
kick you
listen.
out, Rumpus.
Listen.
You're just losing.
Can you see that bit there, Anthony, where I've got the two densities subtracted from one another?
We're
But
looking
hang
at
on.
his
I want you
definition.
to,
He's
I want you
brought
to
up a
admit and
definition.
concede
I
at this
tried
point
to
that
ask
the
you
definition,
to, Rumpus, but you
the
ignored me.
definition for neutral buoyancy does not have the word force in it, and instead it has the word density.
Yeah, and can you see my equation here, where those two density things are there?
Hang on, can I see your equation? Yeah, but you look at what you've put. You put neutral buoyancy, the condition when a net force. That's wrong.
That's correct. That's absolutely
That's wrong.
correct.
That's not the definition,
That's
Rumpus. You've
absolutely
lied.
correct.
No, you've lied.
Correct.
Well, where's
No,
your citation?
Anthony, if you
Hold
can't give me
on,
lying,
hold
I'm gonna come
on.
down and-
We need a clarity in terms of where you have this cited from.
Yes, where's your authority for this, please?
Okay, you want me to go and right? See,
You've obviously took it from somewhere, or you've made it up.
No, I mean, God, you're stupid. Right, okay, let me go and screen grab another of my browser again, then, if you don't want me to show you that. Right, here we go. Right,
Don't
let's
talk us through it, Rumpus. Just do it.
shut up. We're not interested in what you've got to say. Why are you talking?
Just whilst he's looking this
Shut
up,
up.
I'm just going to
Right,
remind
okay,
people.
so
that-
here you are. Right, so let me go. Let's talk about buoyancy.
Yeah, look for the word force on that page.
Yeah, and let's look for the word buoyancy, and then
Not the
you'll
word
see
force.
that it's a special case of normal other buoyancy. Do you even mention yourself that you understood that? Here you go. Here's the weight and density of fluids, and in the positive buoyancy case, here we go. Let's go for. Okay, well, there's the equation for what buoyancy is, because of course you don't necessarily have neutrally buoyant cases. You have a positive or negative buoyancy, and this equation here, which is
You are just puking all over the place. Find us
Why are
the
you interrupting me?
definition
Why are you
because you're
interrupting me?
talking and
Why are
talking
you
and
interrupting
talking
me?
and you're not
You're
saying
interrupting
anything.
me. Here we go. So the weight of the object, the apparent immersed weight, that's the net force acting on the object. It's the weight of the object minus the weight of the displaced fluid, which is exactly what was in my diagram. And that depends on two forces. And when those two forces are equal, you end up with neutral buoyancy. When the weight of the object equals the weight of the displaced fluid, the net force on the object is zero.
Yeah, but
And
you're
that
looking at the word
occurs when the
buoyancy, right?
density of the two
Shouldn't we be
things are
talking about neutral buoyancy?
Yeah, I know, but just think, Anthony, is there a force acting on something? If you
Just
do put,
imagine. Just imagine,
be
Anthony.
quiet, idiot. When you put something like a ping pong ball in the water, do you think there's a force pushing it up? Hopefully you think there is. And that we
Rumpus,
can measure that force.
we're looking for neutral buoyancy.
Yeah, I
Come
know,
up
but
with a definition
it'll
for
make it
neutral
clear to you,
buoyancy.
Anthony. You've
Yeah,
picked on a
Rumpus,
special
are you
case.
answering the
It's
question
not
that
just
we
ignoring
asked
him.
you
Let's just shut everybody up and
because
point out to
you're
the
not-
audience that Rumpus is completely ignoring Anthony's objection. So he's now blurred the
My
lines.
word.
He's looking
If
at a
you
different
understood
definition
what
and
positive
ignoring
having the
everybody
positive
and
and negative
rumpusing the
buoyancy
hangout.
cases,
What
you would
a
realise
shock.
that the neutral
So for
buoyancy
the
is a
asshole
special
who
case.
joined a second ago, this is why. This is why we interrupt. Because he's now blurred the lines and isn't looking at what we are defining. Neutral buoyancy.
Which is when these two things are equal
No,
to
you're
zero.
not looking at neutral
Don't
buoyancy.
describe
You're
it.
looking at
Read
the
the
Archimedes
definition.
principle.
Yeah. When the apparent immersed weight is zero, which would
Yeah,
be
this
the
is the
neutral buoyancy
Archimedes
case,
principle.
that
We're
will be
looking
when
at
this weight is
neutral
zero
buoyancy.
is equal to the weight of the
Neutral
displaced.
buoyancy. You're ignoring this. Why?
The neutral buoyancy occurs when the apparent immersed
Yeah, but you're not reading that though. That's not
He's
what
not
it
reading
says.
it.
Yeah, just read
Yeah,
it.
where are you
Don't
reading
make
that,
it
dickhead?
commentary.
You lying sack of garbage. That's not what was being read off the page. So go back to
can we
neutral
can we see
buoyancy,
a definition
Rumpus.
for neutral buoyancy or not?
Well, that's
we
when
wanna
those
see
two
Rumpus.
forces-
He had it
well,
up,
those-
I
well,
had
those-
it presented,
Yes,
and
but-
then he
but
decided
that's a
that it didn't
simplified. Do you
meet
not
his
understand?
requirement. Shut up!
Do you
You
not
had
understand
it.
that
Shut
that
up.
is a consequence
Shut
of this
up.
equation?
Shut up. You had it on page. then you took it off when you realised
Well,
it
it's
didn't
because it
conform with
doesn't
your
explain the
religious
subtlety.
belief.
Yes,
So-
that's the problem. It doesn't explain it the way you want it.
No,
So
yeah,
what we're
but
asking
that's
for.
you're just looking at a
Listen.
layman's view, and you don't understand.
No,
Okay,
Rumpus,
Anthony,
listen, I'm going to be
Anthony,
really specific,
Anthony,
right?
I could tell
I
you
want to see the forces that are involved with neutral buoyancy,
I will
please.
show you them. Great. Okay. I will
Right, show me
you
them
my
then.
diagram.
Neutral buoyancy.
Great, and I will show you those.
Do it
Okay.
now.
No,
I will do it now.
no.
Look,
Let's not move past this, Anthony. He bought it up on page. Hold on, Rumpus. You bought it up on page and then went past it. So it was the first
Well, it
thing you
didn't
went
give
to.
the details.
Shut up.
No, it doesn't. Because
Shut
it doesn't talk about the word
up.
force.
Anthony, hold on. Let's go to the page that Rumpus went to and quickly went away from.
What page was that?
Just typed in neutral buoyancy.
Right, there is neutral.
Shut up!
buoyancy.
Shut up!
Not-
You went to a page and then you went away from it.
Well, it didn't give all the details.
It didn't give the details you wanted. That's why you went away from it and went and found something else. So the first reference wasn't good enough. So then you went to the Archimedes principle because that better suited your mathematics. Now we're not interested because we're only interested in the definition of neutral buoyancy, which Anthony will now bring up because you didn't like it.
Which
You
is
can't
like
sense
a
the reality,
tug of war.
Rumpus.
When the net force is equal
You can't
to 0.
censor reality. Anthony's going to show us
Absolutely
the
right,
definition
Nathan.
that you wanted to
Absolutely correct.
censor.
You can't censor reality.
The audience saw you brought
right,
it up
yeah.
and then shied
But it
away
didn't
from
have
it,
the
Rumpus. The
detail.
audience saw what you did. Now Anthony's going to bring it up, so we'll see
And it
what you
doesn't have
wanted.
the detail.
So
Yeah,
the
let-
audience can see what you wanted to censor. You
Real
can't
quick,
censor
just real
reality,
quick.
Rumpus.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
real quick, Rumpus. What was the question Anthony asked you about your definition? What did he ask you?
He's asking me what. the
We've got a
forces
sniper,
involved in-
Jack Ryan, in the
No.
back chat. Shut up,
No.
Rumpus, or I'll kick you. Shut up. We've got Jack Ryan in the back chat who's going to kick everybody. Somebody hear that? Are they all going to
Yeah,
drop?
Arwen should be watching it.
Well, maybe he
All
isn't.
right, Rumpus.
Arwen?
We asked you what authority you had
Travis,
for your
Travis,
definition.
right? Your interjection is less important than the whole hangout getting kicked. Arwen, have you got that guy who just
No,
joined?
Arwen's been kicked. Pete,
No.
Pete joined.
Thanks,
Jack Ryan
Travis.
joined.
Thanks a bunch.
Jack Ryan removed Rumpus and Arwen. I removed Jack Ryan. Yeah, he has. He's kicked everybody.
Right,
Am I
there'll be
still
a
here?
short interjection while I start a new hangout. Wonderful.
Yes.
Start a new one, yeah.
board, quarter-inch thick. I put the board under here, and now I am going to try to put that enormous mass of air into motion by a sudden impulsive blow on this end of the stick.
Hey,
Yo.
Anthony.
So what I'll while you're redistributing the link, do you want me to make the point that I was making whilst he's not here?
Good.
All right, so if I share that, all right, so this is the bit that Rumpus doesn't want but needs to have. Are we sharing?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Ouch. Dogs being dogs. Oh. Right, so neutral buoyancy. My question to Rumpus, which he just can't get right, and he needs to obfuscate this point. My question is, what forces are involved when it's neutral buoyancy? Right, not when it's positive or negative, when it's neutral. Because when it's neutral, the basically what this is saying is it's a condition in which a physical body's average density is equal to the density of the fluid in which it's immersed. Right. Now, if you go to the Wikipedia page, it states neutral buoyancy is a condition in which the physical body's average density is equal to the density in the fluid in which it's immersed. But the sentence continues, and this is the bit I want Rumpus to address. It says the buoyancy offsets the force of gravity, right? What about when it's neutrally buoyant and it's neither buoyant nor dense? The point where it's in the middle, the point where the egg is suspended in the water. What are the forces that's going on there? And how is it documented? How is it explained? Because only when
all the pressures surrounding it are at an equilibrium, which is caused by gravity in the first place. So it's just found its equilibrium, force-wise. All the pressures, the layers.
We're talking about density and buoyancy, aren't we?
I know.
Right.
It expresses itself that way.
But the gravity, according to this definition, which is the one that Rumpus likes, is only relevant while it's buoyant. Because it says the buoyancy offsets the force of gravity that would otherwise cause the object to sink. So if the object's not sinking, but it's not buoyant either, where does the gravity fit into it? And how would you show it? How would you prove it?
Subjected. It's all at an equilibrium. It's subjected, all of it.
No, it's not. We're not using equilibrium. We don't use the equilibrium
one
of the
force
egg.
can be redistributed in several ways that eventually cancel each other out.
No, we're not. Listen, we're not using the word equilibrium with the egg. We're using neutral density, neutral buoyancy.
Yeah, I know. I'm describing it.
Right. So.
So neutral buoyancy is when all the pressures are basically equal. Everything.
No, it doesn't mention pressure.
Relative position where all the forces are basically matched.
Doesn't mention pressure.
But it is a part of it.
No,
pressure is what causes
not by definition. It's not.
Well, there is displacement. There is displacement going on when something is moving in such a situation. So there are forces applied, and when it's no longer moving, well, the forces causing the displacement are simply at an equilibrium.
So when it's not moving, does that mean that the forces are not applied?
Yeah, they are, but they are at an equilibrium. They cancel one another out.
Right. So this is what I want the authority for.
The what?
I want the authority for how the gravity works when it's neutrally buoyant and it's neither going up nor down.
No, the gravity applies its effect on all matter. And when all that matter is arranged as such that it is at a perfect equilibrium, pressure redistribution-wise, it's found its level, yeah, then all the pressures, the actual... the connection where the forces are set in on the matter.
Why do you keep saying pressure?
When it comes at balance, then it's no longer moving. That's how the principle of force works.
Why do you keep saying pressure when it's not part of the definition?
Doesn't matter. The pressure is there.
No.
Yeah, it is. There is pressure right there. Yeah, there is.
No. You can't claim pressure if it's not
gas pressure, water pressure, it's not there.
Right, so why are you speaking over me? I'm saying you can't claim pressure if it's not part of the science. There is no science of pressure in buoyancy.
Right. Well, you go play over there. I'll just stay out of that.
The word pressure doesn't even appear in the document, Arwin, so you're not having the word pressure.
Right. Yeah, sorry. Your censorship of... general things, it's not going to be working on me.
Not really. I'd call it your bullshit, adding words that are not part of the explanation.
Yeah, pressure, and there's no pressure, right?
No, you're using words that are not part of the science. That's called bullshit.
There is pressure, though.
So you say, but it's not in the explanation, right?
Right.
So you can't have it.
So there's nothing causing displacement. It's just happening.
Yeah, it's called density.
Actually causing the displacement. It's logical. It's just
density, Alvin. It's on screen right now. Can you see that word? Density, not pressure.
Welcome back, Rumpus.
It's good. It's a description.
It's very specific.
Yeah, I know it's very specific. It's a very specific description of the effect. It's not actually explaining.
It's a cause, Arwin.
right
It's a
there. It's
cause.
just a description of the fact, that thing that you love to do yourself. So many
No, it's a
times.
cause. It's not a description. It's a cause. We know that
Oh,
when we
really? So
manipulate it by adding more salt, we can force a displacement.
Where describe in this piece of text where the causal
Pete.
relationship is actually revealed? I don't see
With the
it.
word density.
Where is the cause
The word
being
density.
described? Where is the cause? It's describing a condition. It's nice.
The causes
Certain
are
effect,
gravity
but where is
and
the
the buoyancy
cause?
force. The buoyancy force and the gravity forces are the causes, and the density
Right,
causes
okay.
a change in the amount of gravity. The gravity
So
force.
let's go back to your screen, Rumpus. Answer specifically, right? It's a clear question that's really specific. It's narrow. It's not broad. When the egg is suspended in the water and it's neither moving up nor down, it's floating in its own mass or whatever the word is. Talk us through the forces that are making it be equal.
Okay. Can you see my Can you see my thing with the egg and the force meter?
Yeah.
Great. Right. So here is we'll call this an egg or an object, and this has a weight. That is.
No. It doesn't say weight in the definition, though.
It does.
It says density. Let's talk about its
It said
density.
the force. It said the force of gravity in that thing you were looking
No.
at. The
Let's
force
talk about
of
the
gravity.
density.
It said the force of gravity. You read it out, you idiot.
It didn't say anything about the weight.
Gravity.
Which is
Go on,
weight.
eat that, Mike. Eat it.
That's the
Go on, eat
definition
it.
of
Get
weight.
really angry about it. Go on, tell him about your
Definition-
religious
I will,
belief in gravity.
because
Go
I'm
on.
dealing with a 12-year-old here. Weight is defined as the force of gravity, Anthony. Why don't you understand
The
this?
rumpusing begins. So when we get to the point where Anthony points out there's no need for gravity, that's where Rumpus starts eating his mic and trying to censor reality by talking over everybody. He won't accept it, he'll just talk louder. That's his only tactic. Talk louder, talk indefinitely, that way he thinks he'll win. We won't ever get to the point where we start defining terms, finding out what F is and B is. We won't get to that stage because he'll just talk non-stop.
I'm trying to reply to Anthony, and you're sabotaging that. Anthony, in the thing you read out, it said the force of gravity was counteracted by the force of buoyancy.
Only whilst it's in a buoyant position.
Yes, we're talking about that condition.
No, we're not talking about that condition. We're talking about when it's neutrally buoyant.
Yeah, we're talking about, yes, exactly. In the case, it said in the neutrally buoyant condition.
No.
It is. It read it out, you idiot.
Go on, eat that mic. Eat that mic. Go on, assert your religious belief and get really angry about it. Really good entertainment, Rumpus, when you start getting angry,
Anthony,
eating your mic and asserting your
How about
religious
let me
belief,
finish
trying to
I didn't
censor
interrupt
reality. Yeah, we know your tactic, Rumpus.
Anthony, let me finish my explanation, and then you can have a go. How about that as an idea?
The problem is, Rumpus, you'll take 20 minutes on it.
I'll take this. This is so easy. I can do it in
listen,
30
stop.
seconds.
Your first
no, you
word
keep
is the
listening
problem.
to me, Anthony. Keep on interrupting me.
No,
Give me
Rumpus,
30
listen.
seconds.
Please,
I
just
only
listen,
need
Rumpus.
30
I've
seconds.
stated
This
my
is where it just
objection.
says, I only need 30 seconds 400 times. So Anthony doesn't get to respond to the first objection. So all he'll do is rumpus and try and censor reality while Anthony doesn't get an opportunity to respond. Go on, eat your mic. Eat your mic. Shout a bit louder, because that'll
You're
give you a
such a
winning
fool. You
argument,
keep
won't it,
on
Rumpus?
doing this.
Shout a
And
bit louder.
expecting a different
Anthony,
result,
no,
and you do
you'll go.
exactly the same
Let's take
thing.
it in turns.
Right,
shall we, Anthony?
everybody else
Okay,
stop.
yes, you're right,
Everybody
Rumpus.
else
Let's
stop.
take it in turns. That's fair enough. Let's all take it in turns. Anthony, you go first. Anthony, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, let me respond. Rumpus's
Well,
opening
Anthony,
words.
you didn't
That
let
means
me
you
explain,
shut up.
did you?
Yes,
Shush.
let's take it in turns,
You
Rumpus, like you
interrupted me,
suggest.
didn't you?
That means you
interrupted
shut
because
up.
I've got an objection that's
Shut
valid.
up.
My objection that's valid for this is why I interrupted you.
Well, okay, but Anthony, you can't.
Stop.
I
Stop.
didn't
Right, I'm going to
stop
have to
you.
mute you, Rumpus.
Interrupted
Look,
me.
for the audience, I'm now muting Rumpus so he understands that we have to take turns, like he suggested.
Stop
So I'll
interrumping
stick you on mute.
people,
That means you two
I
are
never get a
win.
turn though.
No, you do get a turn,
No, I
Rumpus.
don't, Anthony. You interrupted
Right,
me.
you're
my
still
turn.
not understanding, Rumpus. This is
Why do you
Anthony's
overtalk Anthony
turn.
if you can't
Do we
have
have
an
to resort to
explanation?
this? This is a child we're dealing with. Rumpus is a
no,
child.
I'm the one being
He's just
interrupted.
suggested that we take turns, so I'm going to say it to the audience again. On Rumpus's suggestion, we will take turns. This is Anthony's turn, but Rumpus can't take turns because he's 3 years old.
Now, I interrupted Rumpus with an objection that's valid to stop him from talking and talking and
And
talking.
then you have okay, you have your
Rumpus,
and then I'll have mine.
Rumpus, I decide whose turn it is. It's Anthony's turn.
Rumpus started with the word wait in the opening 3 words of his sentence. Now, the word weight is not part of the definition for neutral buoyancy. We're not talking when it's rising or going down. We're talking about when it's in that floaty bit in the middle. But let's be very specific with what it says. It says neutral buoyancy is a condition where a physical body's average density So what I want Rumpus to address is the average density of the thing compared to the equal density of the fluid in which it's immersed. So let's talk about densities. Let's not talk about weight.
Right, do I get to go now? Excellent. So following on that sentence there, it says the buoyancy offsets the force of gravity. So we've got two forces, and
Stop.
then... Anthony, you interrupted me, you little wanker.
Stop. We're not talking about when it's buoyant.
Anthony, I let you speak. Now I'm going to get my go.
Stop. It
No,
doesn't say.
Anthony, shut up.
We're not talking about when it's
Let
buoyancy.
your go, and I'm going to have my go, and then it will come up with the density that you want.
No,
I'm gonna
listen.
give you the
We're not
explanation you
talking
want.
about when it's
Just
buoyant.
Anthony,
This is
you're
not
interrupting
getting
me.
anywhere. Stop doing that.
Anthony, you're interrupting me.
I am,
You're
because you've got it wrong.
No, Anthony, you're interrupting me.
You've got it wrong, Rumpus.
I have not got it wrong, and I will give you the density explanation at the end of the explanation. But
I'm
you've
not on
gotta
about
let
the
me get
buoyancy.
there. Anthony, shut up.
No, I'm not on
Anthony,
about
I let you
buoyancy.
speak. I let you speak. Shut up.
Stop doing that.
He's changing the terms. So what Anthony's trying to get to the audience while he is objecting is now we've got a goalpost mover. He doesn't want to talk about neutral buoyancy.
I'm going to talk about neutral buoyancy, but you haven't let me do it. Right. So when you have neutral buoyancy, you have two forces acting on this object we call an egg. You have the weight of the object, which is the force of gravity, which as described in the Wikipedia article.
That's not the definition.
Anthony, shut up.
No,
that's
you're
not the
wrong.
definition.
So again, we've got Anthony to define terms. Rumpus has ignored them completely. And when Anthony objects, because he's defined the terms and pointed out the weight isn't part of it, Rumpus rumpuses. So this is the cheap tactic of a 5-year-old who doesn't want to have turns, only wants to ignore the other person completely so that he can rumpus. That's all he's got to do. So Anthony's made an objection and you're now ignoring it and then getting all stroppy when he reasserts his objection.
It said in the Wikipedia article, the force of gravity is countered by the force of buoyancy.
But it only says that in relation to when it's buoyant, Rumpus. I'm not asking for when it's buoyant.
Again, I'll say it to the audience because he's done it again. So he's immediately moved the goalposts again. So he's talking about the Wikipedia definition for buoyancy, and we are trying to talk about neutral buoyancy. When I asked him to clarify, he said, yes! Very angry, he ate his microphone, we are talking neutral buoyancy. Then he immediately goes to the definition of buoyancy. When something has a direction and a movement, that's what he needs. He needs a force. So he's moving the goalpost, and every time he objects and rumpuses like he's doing now, and I'm showing the audience, we'll point out that he's moving the goalposts and using a different definition. The definition of buoyancy when we're talking about neutral buoyancy. So he's a disingenuous liar, only here to obfuscate and push his religious belief, and will talk indefinitely and rumpus when he doesn't get to have his way. Because we object, you stupid little man.
Can we move on? Is it safe?
Is he still in?
As soon as Rumpus opens his mouth again, he'll immediately introduce weight. He'll ignore every word because he's tried to censor reality and talk the entire time I talked. He's ignored Anthony when he had perfect hearing and could hear every word. He's just completely ignored it. Twice. Because he's a disingenuous liar.
I'm back. Right. There we go. So I was talking about neutral buoyancy, wasn't I?
No, you were talking about buoyancy.
No, I wasn't. I was talking about neutral buoyancy.
At the top, for the audience, he's just done it a third time. I'm going to do it every single time. You can't shut me up, dickhead. It says buoyancy at the top. It does not say neutral buoyancy because this is an example of neutral buoyancy. You're going to start talking about forces and directions when there is none. You're just a liar.
I'm going to talk about neutral buoyancy.
So why are you on a page that says buoyancy, dickhead? You're not going to. You're going to keep going back to the definition of buoyancy when we're talking about neutral buoyancy because you're a disingenuous goalpost mover and you're going to continue obfuscating it even though Anthony's objected and I've objected and I'm having to do this with you talking constantly over the top of me because you want to censor reality and stop the entire hangout hearing what I say while I reassert Anthony's objection. Well, the audience will get to hear that you're a disingenuous rumpuser that can only talk over everybody and talk louder than them when your point is not going to get made. You're talking about a different point. Buoyancy. We're trying to talk about neutral buoyancy when there is no movement, but you don't want to because it doesn't fit in with your gravity view and your religious zealotry. So you don't get to do this. I get to do it. I get to talk over you because you're a disingenuous liar, and point out that this is not neutral buoyancy you're describing. You're just a liar. And every time you do it, I'll shut up and I'll do it and I'll point out to the audience where you're lying, how you're lying, how you're moving the goalposts, and how all you've got is talking continually while I point it out to them. You can't censor reality, you can just stop the hangout from hearing me. That's all you're achieving. You're just achieving the hangout, not hearing me. The audience still gets to hear that all you've got is this cheap little shitty tactic, because you're a loser. The Earth is flat, obviously and observably. There is no gravity, only a religious belief in it. You don't need it when we're in a neutral buoyant state. You just add it by talking about buoyancy continually, because that does have a direction. So you can obfuscate and do... I'll show the audience again what Rumpus is doing, trying to censor reality, talking non-stop. This is Rumpus trying to censor reality, talking non-stop. Can't censor reality, Rumpus. You can't censor reality. You can try and talk about a different subject, but you can't censor reality.
Guys, I'm not going to be sitting
Who's
here
making that rustling noise?
Either kick him, let him do his thing, or I'm leaving because I'm sick of this shit.
Can't censor reality, Rumpus. You keep talking about buoyancy, and we're talking about neutral buoyancy. Every time we try and tie you down on it, you Rumpus the hangout. And it gets out of control because you don't want us to point it out to the audience that you're talking about something completely different, because you need there to be a direction, you need there to be a movement, you need there to be a force. And then you'll attribute weight, again ignoring all objections, and then say that we haven't given you an opportunity to speak when you've completely ignored every objection. You're just a liar with a religious belief here to Rumpus the hangout. I still haven't finished my sentence. And here he comes to censor reality while I'm still talking like a 2-year-old, doesn't know how to take turns, or suggest taking turns, but he's just a little 2-year-old. Doesn't understand that when someone else is talking, you should be listening, because he's basically 2 years old.
In the case of neutral buoyancy, the two forces cancel out. The weight of the object and the force of the buoyancy force cancel out. Just like a tug of war, the two forces are equal. And that's the condition I've got over here, where the two forces, the buoyancy force and the weight of the object, are equal. They're equal to 0. And the formula, I could go through this, but you'll probably be a bit too stupid to understand. The volume...
Oh, right, here we go. Ad hominem attack. He was just about to stay on track. Rumpus is a moron. All he can do is assume he's on a ball because he's a complete thicko.
This has got nothing to do with being on a ball, Nathan.
Yeah, you're just a moron. This is all about being on a ball. You moron. This is a flat earth debate, you moron. Doesn't know how to keep up with the conversation because he's a moron.
Can you see that those two densities,
what a
when
thicko.
they're equal...
I'll talk over you and introduce a few ad homs, just like you do. I'll try and censor reality. But in this case, the reality is you're a moron.
So you can see this multiplying factor, but this is what causes it to be neutral. The two densities being the same. If you multiply that by the volume and by little g, you end up with a net force. If the net force
prove it.
Zero,
prove it.
0.
Prove it. So we'll put in for P0, we'll put in 1, and then we'll minus off PW of 1.
Oh, okay, Anthony, I could tell you if you put an egg or something in water, I could tell you what force was on it, and you could go away and experiment on it yourself.
Hang on, let's apply your maths.
Hold on, Anthony, let me just finish the sentence.
No.
You could do a little experiment in your kitchen, and I could tell you exactly what force you will see appearing on a force meter like this. I could tell you and predict it for you. And then you could go away and experiment.
This is not an experiment. Let's just get that nipped in the bud. Objection. Won't be an experiment. Won't have an independent variable. Won't have an observed phenomena. It'll have a force meter. We won't be observing phenomena. We'll be observing force meters, man-made devices caused by man. So this won't be an experiment. Rumpus is another moron that doesn't understand science.
Then, Nathan, because they all involve man-made experimental measuring devices.
No, the experimental data devices can be man-made. The observed phenomena is the thing that needs to not be man-made, because then it's caused by man.
This is a natural phenomena.
Moron.
Utterly stupid. Anthony, you could do...
Yeah, you're stupid. You don't understand that the observed phenomena can't be man-made. You're an idiot.
You could do this, use this little equation.
He's now stuttering. The observed phenomena can't be man-made. This is not an experiment. You said we're observing things that happen on force meters. This isn't science. This is not an experiment. You are, in fact, a moron if you don't understand science.
Anthony, I could predict for you what...
Don't care. Is it a hypothesis? Is it a scientific prediction?
You could go away.
Is it a scientific prediction? Is it a scientific prediction? Answer me. Answer me, moron.
Please, let me respond. Please, Rumpus, let me respond. You're going to claim now that that formula there is the explanation for neutral buoyancy.
Correct.
But in the definition for neutral buoyancy, all it says is the density of one compared to the medium in which it's in. It doesn't mention volume or gravity.
That's right, because this little bit here in brackets,
and that's it.
0. Yes,
yeah, but then that little bit in brackets is the only explanation, right? It doesn't mention volume or gravity.
No, Anthony, that's because they're considering as just giving you the minimum.
They don't need to be there. It equals 0. There is no net effect. Gravity isn't needed. Rumpus has just added it because he needs it later down the line for his ball religion, like I keep asserting. There's no need for gravity. It equals 0. In neutral buoyancy, there is no gravity. It's not needed. Net effect 0.
And when you multiply that by the volume you're using...
Nathan, the problem that Rumpus has in his maths here is he's adding bits to the formula there that are not in the explanation.
No, Anthony, I'm not.
The definition clearly states it's the density of object relative to the density of the medium in which it's in.
That's what this bit is, Anthony.
Yeah, and that's all it should be, because there's no further explanation in the definition.
Because the only...
Why are them bits in?
Anthony, I could tell you what force you will measure. Why is someone hissing?
I don't know. Is it physics? Physics. I'm going to put you on mute.
Right. So with this formula, Anthony, I can actually tell you what you will see on your force meter when you do your little kitchen experiment.
Objection. You've got VOG as not part of the equation. That's by the definition.
That is that. If you were to look at the equation, if you remember that what you quoted from the Wikipedia page, it said the force of gravity is countered by the force of buoyancy, and that's what this equation does.
Nathan, would you mind presenting my screen, please?
Hold on, Anthony.
Yeah, no
when
problem,
they're the
Anthony.
same, it's when those two values are the same.
Just stop.
Anthony, you keep on interrupting me. How about let me finish?
No, because
Anthony, when those densities are the same, that goes to 0, so this goes to 0, which means the net force is 0.
Right.
They don't mention that bit.
Right, shut up now, Rumpus. Shut up. Now you can shut up.
In your maths, Rumpus, the first part in the brackets describes this. It says neutral buoyancy is a condition which the physical body's average density, that's your first value, is equal to the density of the fluid in which it's immersed. That's the second value in brackets. But then you add the volume and the gravity that's not part of the explanation.
Anthony, that's not a...
Right, I'm going to round out there. Rumpus will just rumpus for the next 10 minutes anyway. So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!